Super Mario Bros. Wonder is almost here. It's like around the corner. It's peeking its head out saying, yeah, I'm almost out. And leading up to the release, we've seen a ton of footage from Nintendo and their treehouse and all the trailers, from the Mario Wonder Direct, and some content creators that actually got to play it early, those lucky sons of bitches. I've gone through probably way too much of the footage to figure out literally everything we know about Super Mario Bros. Wonder before release. Shout out to my YouTube chat for helping me figure some of this out. Also, since I started working on this video, the entire game has been leaked, so I'm not going to use any of the footage from any of that stuff. There'll be no spoilers in this video. It's spoiler free, so you can just watch. I've only shown the footage that Nintendo showed us and the footage from the demo at GameCon that Nintendo's allowed people to upload. Here's what we know about the story so far, and I mean, it's a Mario plot. It's a 2D Mario plot at that, so it's probably not going to be much more complex than this. So Mario and crew were invited to come hang out with Prince Florian in the Flower Kingdom for some reason. Bowser shows up, touches the Wonder Flower, and combines with Prince Florian's castle, and then leaves. I don't know why. And these black piranha plants are surrounding it and blocking off something. So Mario and friends gotta find the power of like the big wonder seeds at the end of each world to destroy the piranha plants so they can get to Bowser or something. I don't. Who cares? And while Bowser's in a castle, he's going around the Flower Kingdom, turning all the Poplins houses into like jails and imprisoning them. So Mario and Co's gotta help them on the way as well and defeat Bowser. So it seems like they got their hands full, but it's pretty much the usual. Let's quickly touch on the difficulty before we get to the juicy stuff. So in a bunch of articles, they've stated that a bunch of game reviewers and journalists have had a lot of trouble with Mario Wonder. They said they've been struggling and getting their butts kicked. I don't really trust game journalists to judge a game's difficulty after Cuphead. I'll be fully honest, I know some are qualified, but come on. We'll see for ourselves when Mario comes out, because 2D Mario is typically not hard, so we'll see what happens. But I'd love a challenge. I don't think it's gonna be that hard though. I don't think it's gonna kick our butts. And it seems like the difficulty of the levels doesn't scale on what world you're in specifically. It scales on what kind of level it is. Like, there are 5-star difficulty or 4-star difficulty levels in World 1, but there are still like 1-star and 2 stars in later worlds. So I think it just depends on what the challenge in the level is gonna be and how extra it is. And typically these harder, more difficult levels with higher stars are in the open areas, so you're allowed to like skip them. And I mean, I guess we're already talking about it, so let's keep talking about the world maps. It seems like in a bunch of sections you're gonna have a traditional 2D Mario world map, like you're on a line, you go from level to level, point to point, but sometimes it opens up into a big open section where you can walk around freely with 3D control and you can pick whatever level you want. There's a bunch of levels to pick from, varying in difficulties. But I mean, you still gotta beat a decent amount of levels and get a decent amount of Wonder Seeds, because it seems like at the end, or at least in Pipe Rock Plateau, which is World 1, there's a big black piranha plant blocking the path or blocking the level that you need to progress to get out of the open world section to a linear section, and you need a certain amount of Wonder Seeds to pass him. So you can't just skip all the levels or only maybe do the easy ones. You gotta do some hard ones maybe to get enough Wonder Seeds to be able to actually get through the world. So you got freedom, but you gotta pick wisely. We know that secret exits are returning, so that's exciting. You gotta go through a secret exit, find a nice little nook somewhere in a level to go unlock some more levels on the world map. And those secret exits might lead you into a different type of theme, but in the same world. So this time around, it seems that every world has multiple themes going in it, and it's more like a big world rather than just like a specific biome, like old Mario games used to have. It used to be like grassland is World 1, World 2 desert, water World 4, for instance, that kind of vibe. It seems like World 1 is a grassland kind of area that leads into a savanna, and then a mountainous area, and then like there's a swamp, I think? It seems like a big cohesive world stitching together biomes. We know that World 2 is also the same way. I think you start off in like a snow area, and then you go to the clouds. It's been a while, but I'm glad we're finally moving away from one world theme. 3D World kind of tried to do that, but it was weird because the world map still looked like the one theme that it normally would be, but the levels were just completely different. It looked like it stuck out all the time, and it was really odd. And the worlds definitely seem bigger than any other 2D Mario game. It seems like there's gonna be a lot of content to do per world. But aside from just playing normal levels in the world, there's also gonna be a different kind of challenge. There's gonna be badge challenges, which are their own little mini levels that give you a badge power up and force you to go through this little, well, forcing seems kind of harsh. Have you go through a specific challenge with that badge's power in mind. So we've seen the grapple vine one, we've seen the floating cap one, we've seen the wall climbing one. I think we know where a bunch of these are in the respective worlds, so we'll talk about that later. There's also gonna be a bunch of Poplin houses where you can spend all your flower coins to get 1-ups, badges, power-ups probably, other stuff like that. And a little thing I noticed about world traversal in the world maps, it seems like there's these petal flowers that take you from places to places in the world map. It also might be a fast travel warp. I'm not really sure how it works, but you see in this shot, Mario and take the flower helicopter, flower propeller thing, I don't know, and it takes them to the next section of the world. You can see from the platforms here that these sections are going to be connected with the propeller flower, flower propeller, helicopter flower, I don't know what to call it. Also returning from 3D World is going to be the question blocks on the world map, so you can hit them, get some coins. It's pretty negligible, but you know, it's pretty fun. And something that reminds me of Kirby and the Forgotten Land are these little patches on the ground. You can see there's like a blue flower patch here. It looks like there's a hidden little something there that you can probably go over, hit A on, maybe we'll get some coins, maybe unveil a secret level, perhaps. Maybe it's a power-up. I don't know what it could be, but I feel like there might be some hidden secrets on the world map too. So now that we know how the world map operates, let's talk about the characters. As far as playable characters go, we got Super Mario, Luigi, Yellow Toad, Blue Toad, Toadette, Peach, Daisy, Yoshi, ranging from different colors of light blue, red, and yellow, and your OG green. We also got Nabbit for some reason. I'm glad he's here, but I'm kind of surprised they brought him back. Mario, Luigi, the Toads, Toadette, Peach, and Daisy will all have the exact same moveset. No special powers like Luigi high jump, Peach is floating, that's not going to be there. However, Yoshi and Nabbit will have a different moveset. Yoshi's got his normal stuff. He's got a flutter jump, he's got his tongue sticking out really far, and he can eat and spit out enemies. You can also ride on Yoshi, even if you're Yoshi or Elephant Mario, which is hilarious, by the way. I don't think Nabbit has anything special. He might be able to put power-ups in his bag and do something with them later, like in New Super Mario Bros., but I'm not sure if that's the case. Oh, and there's this little thing with the Yoshis and Nabbit. It's just a little thing that they can't take any damage at all. Impervious to everything. Even the wrath of God could not take them down, but they can still fall in lava and fall in pits and stuff and die, so you know, be careful. Also, speaking of lava, you guys should go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I mean, we're almost at 10K, and you want to be there for that, right? You're also gonna want to be here when Mario Wonder drops, because we're gonna go crazy on the content with that game. And while you're at it, you might as well like the video since you're already down there. All right, let's keep going. There are good easy modes, for lack of a better term, to get some newer players in on the fun without having to stress too much. But those are just the player characters. All right, we got Poplins, we got Prince Florian, we got Bowser. He's also a flying castle, by the way. We got we got Kamek back, Bowser Jr. and his clown car, and we got Talking Flowers, the GOAT. Let's talk moveset, let's talk controls. Something new that I don't hear anyone talking about. This is so big. It's the underwater stomp. You could do this in a bunch of 3D Mario games, but never in a 2D Mario were you ever allowed to stomp on an enemy underwater. You'd always need some power up to defend yourself, but in Mario Wonder, you can stomp on cheat sheets like it's no big deal. And no one talked about this. Why? It's huge. You can defend yourself without a power-up, people. Come on. And New Super Mario Bros., if you picked up your friends with a star, it would basically duplicate your remaining star timer onto the player you just touched. So if you had 2 seconds left on your star, whoever you grab will only have 2 seconds left on their star. And that's kind of like star picking up sharing. In this game, it's kind of like how it is in 3D World, where as long as you make contact with a friend or a player or whatever, they'll get their star power and it'll actually reset to maximum timer. So if Mario touches Luigi when he only has 1 second left of the star, Luigi gets a full star from the full maximum length. It's sick. We also got skydiving. The item reserve is back. It lets you store up as many power-ups as players there are. So 1 player, you can store up to 1, 2, you can store up to 2, 3, you can throw up to 3, and so on and so forth. There's this dive animation that happens when you jump into the water, and after you're in the water, you have a little dive straight down. I love it. Something that's been brought back from Mario World is kicking items up. I already talked about Yoshi's flutter jump and his eating and spinning ability. We got the traditional ground pound back. We also got shell swimming, so that means you can grab a shell. It's kind of like in Mario 64 and Galaxy. If you grab a shell and go underwater, you start going a lot faster with it, so that's going to be optimal. It seems like they're trying to make underwater traversal a little more bearable in this game, which is a huge plus. It's going to make people like water levels more. We also got goo walking. It's like you're in goo and you're kind of walking. I don't know, I just wrote goo walking. Let's talk power-ups, old and new. It's kind of an extension to your moveset, so I feel like let's transition into this smoothly. So as far as returning power-ups go, we didn't see too many. We saw the mushroom, fire flower, and the star, which is crazy. There was a massive library of Mario power-ups to pick from, and we did not see most of them. The drill mushroom is kind of like a reference to Mario Galaxy, but it lets you dig underground and even into ceilings, lets you slam through crystals easily, and it also makes you impervious to, I think, certain enemy attacks from above. So like you jump into them, it's kind of like the helmet from Mario Maker. If you jump into them, your little drill helmet spins and then it kills whatever's trying to get you or something. Pretty nice, pretty good. It's like a multi-purpose ability. It's not just for one specific thing. It's got its bunch of uses, so that's nice. The earliest we've seen the drill mushroom was in World 1, in this mushroom level. We think the mushroom level's in World 1 in the northern part of the savannah open area. We're not 100% on this, but we think the earliest you get the drill mushroom is in World 1. The bubble flower, which is kind of like the baby blue Yoshi from New Super Mario Bros. U. You shake that guy and bubbles pop out of his mouth. It's the same vibe with this. You just hit the probably Y or whatever the attack button is, or the run button, and you shoot bubbles out of your character's mouth. You can bounce on them, you can shoot them at enemies and they'll get trapped in them. It's gonna be really cool tech for speedrunning because you can just shoot bubbles ahead of you and then jump on them like kind of little temporary platforms. It's sick. But it kind of wasn't Bros U first, so I mean, it's also got this cool animation. When you hit it, it pops up in its own little bubble and then it floats around and then you gotta grab it out of a bubble. It's really nice. We got the elephant fruit, the Elefruit, the big boy, the Super Mario Wonder Special. So this power-up turns you into a big elephant. All characters have a form except for Yoshi and Nabbit, of course. It allows you to dash across 2 block gaps instead of just 1 block gaps like you normally can. I think you're 3 blocks tall as well. You're able to store water in your trunk and you can water flowers and stun enemies with the water too. You're able to break blocks more easily. You could swing your trunk and attack enemies with it. It's got like a lot of different abilities. It seems like they're going for multi-purpose power-ups in this, which makes it so you can use the same power-up for a bunch of different situations, which is awesome. And last but not least, we got the Wonder Flower. This is like really the staple of the game. I mean, it's in the goddamn title. This is more of an event switch rather than a power-up. You touch it and a bunch of weird stuff happens with the level. Now they showed off a lot of different Wonder events in all of the trailers and all of the footage, so let's go through a bunch of them. We've seen moving water pipes that happens in the first level, I'm pretty sure. Just water spews up and down, the pipes are moving. It's kind of cool. We got big hoppos, which are the big hippo purple guys you bounce off of. Those guys are rolling around and you're bouncing off of them. You got stretchy Mario, which is like, we saw them in the silhouette level. Mario's like stretching up and down, and the world stretches with them. It seems like the enemies are too, so you gotta like stretch up and down strategically, depending on the obstacles in front of you. We got Roll Spike Mario, which I'm pretty sure is in World 6, but we'll talk about that later. Turns you into a big spiky ball and you just roll down stuff. We got the Bull Rush Stampede. It's basically a bunch of bull rushes, which are those enemies down there, and they're basically gonna chase after you and you're gonna hop on top of them and you're just gonna ride them to the end. I think they also take away the goal flag and move everything aside, so it's gonna be a little chaotic with this one. We got a big spike boulder chasing you because of the terrain tilting in this shot. So the terrain tilts to the side and Mario and Co start running away from it. This one you want a big rolling snow sphere with different obstacles changing and you're picking up different stuff. Pretty cool looking. You got skydiving too. I don't know if that's specifically a Wonder thing. I put that in the moveset and control section because I wasn't 100% sure. But you can tell when a Wonder event's active if you look at the corners. There's this little Wonder hazy effect that's happening. So whenever I see that, I'm like, okay, a Wonder event's happening right now, which means the thing that's happening on screen is probably only specific to a Wonder Flower power, but we'll see. We got the side switching event that takes place in the Bowser Jr. boss fight. You basically turn mini and turn really, really big. Bowser Jr. does the exact same thing, and you gotta fight him through it. It seems like there's this new bullet bill thing. We call them Rocket Ricks in the stream, but we don't know their names. These might only appear in Wonder events. They could be Wondered bullet bills and they're stretched out, but we saw them in the background and we saw them with the Wonder events in the corners of the screen. These might be Wonder specific enemies. This sick perspective change, it's kind of like a gravity shift, I guess, when you basically fall onto the wall on the side and you're walking on the wall. It changes everything. It's like a top down. It kind of looks like 2D Zelda a little bit. You're looking top down and you're walking through. That was so cool. I thought that was like the coolest Wonder event that we've seen so far. I don't know why that blew my mind more than anything else, but I think that's just gonna change things up so much. It's gonna be so interesting. It's gonna be juicy. We saw Mario and Co with floaty controls going around through space. We saw Mario and Co also as Goombas. It seems like it's a Petal Isles level because it's a candy theme level, and we see that from the world map over here, that it looks like there's probably a candy area here. And I'm pretty sure if you get hit in this Goomba mode, you die right away. So don't get folded. You got balloon mode, which is kind of like the P-balloon from Super Mario World and Mario Maker. And you just go into a balloon state and you just kind of float around real, and people are really weird about this. People are really weird about this. Chill. You got the big balloons, which are basically these big enemies that you jump on and they kind of like expel air out, and you gotta use them as like air trampolines, I guess, or something, and they get a little smaller as you go through them. This one's kind of like a meteor shower for power stars. They keep falling from the sky. You get infinite invincibility pretty much, and you run through the area as fast as you can. It looks pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like this more than Star Chains. And finally, we got this big crushing guy coming down from the ceiling. He's trying to get you, and you gotta escape from him before he gets to you quickly. This is in Crystal Caves. We saw this in the treehouse. That's all the Wonder events I noticed, but I could have missed some, but you guys will let me know, I'm sure, if I missed something. So as far as enemies go, Nintendo showed us a lot of footage with a lot of different enemies in the footage. Even if it was just like a little snippet of whatever they do, we got a lot of enemies to go through. But first and foremost, I gotta say, the enemy expressions are fantastic. They got dynamic expressions depending on what's going on. So if there's like a bubble coming towards something, they start freaking out. If they see Mario, they get angry and go aggro. Some of them are even just straight up asleep. It's a nice change from them just walking left and right without even looking or caring about the character. So this is a welcome change for sure. We got a bunch of returning enemies too. We got, of course, the Goombas. We got Koopas, Spikes, Hammer Bros, Spinies, Walking Piranha Plants. We got Wiggler. This time they're on skates along with the Koopas too, so that's gonna be kind of fun. Cheep Cheeps, we saw Goombrats, Boos, Swamps, Lakidus, Fire Piranha Plants, Sparkies, Bone Goombas, and probably a bunch more returning ones, but the new ones are where it gets crazy. The first new enemies we see are these dark Piranha Plant creepers with like a diamond pattern on their head surrounding the Bowser's castle. As far as we know, we have to destroy all these to unblock the final world, and they also block off certain levels with Wonder Seed requirements. So this might just be a roadblock of progression type of enemy and not an actual enemy we see in game. Next, we got Con Darts. They're like these red and yellow birds that shoot themselves at you like darts. They get stuck into the terrain and they can also break through bricks. We saw Melon Piranha Plants, which are just piranha plants that shoot melon seeds, and they got like this watermelon pattern all over them. It reminds me a lot of the watermelon power-up you can get from Yoshi's Island, where you just shoot seeds. I think you can also bounce off the seeds as well. Next up are Conks. They're kind of like a thwomp-like enemy, and I think we talked about this in the Crystal Cave Wonder event, where it's chasing you down. But when these guys crush you to the ground, they don't actually kill you right away. Crushing death might just be out of this game altogether. I haven't seen it. Anytime someone's gotten crushed in this game, they hadn't died. So I'm not sure yet, but we'll see. But anyway, Conks could also change the terrain around them, like they can crush goo and move it out of the way. They can probably crush blocks. I think they can crush the crystal things too. Mumsies, they're these really tall guys that kind of get in your way, and you can't pass them without grabbing their back and unraveling them to take them out. Next, we got Momots. They're these kind of salamander, maybe tadpole looking little big doofy guys. They walk around and just kind of eat whatever's in front of them. And they might one-shot you. I'm not sure. We saw someone walk into them when you're in Goomba form and you just die. So, I don't know if that's the case if you're not in Goomba form, but we'll have to see. They'll run for a little bit and then they'll get exhausted and have to catch their breath, and it's kind of cute, I'm not gonna lie. They stick their tongue out and everything. This is one of my favorite enemies they showed so far. This is a push bro or a shove bro. It looks like a sledge bro, but it kind of pushes stuff back at you. In the footage we've seen against this push or shove bro, so far the players had to push a big block against them and they've had to win like a push of war situation. We don't know how many players scale with the strength scaling, so like if you have 2 people pushing, will it push harder? Probably, I would guess. But I imagine if you push it far enough, you end up crushing them and they die, or you can probably just jump on their head. I like this a lot because normally in 2D Mario, you don't see pushing mechanics, so this is something really new and I kinda dig it. Skedaddlers are like these long, lanky squirrel or gopher-like guys that got block shells and they're running away from the player. Looks like they can also run away from you while holding some kind of item, whether it's a flower coin or maybe even a power-up or just some normal coins. But you catch up to them and you get them. They can also shoot seeds back at you. So this one we don't actually know the name of. It looks like a winged chain chomp kind of thing, but it's like smaller. It's kind of like a flame chomp, but it has wings. It doesn't shoot fire. It's got golden teeth. We've seen it eat blocks around the terrain in like this candy level, but I think that's about it. Smogrins. These guys are kind of like evil purple clouds. We saw them in the first trailer. We saw them in a bunch of places, and we didn't know their names until this Game Informer article came out of some guy playing the game. They're just these evil clouds, and I think they chase you, but it looks like they're stationary in a lot of the footage. So there's normal spikes that spit out spike balls at you. Now there's fire spikes. They're red and they shoot fire at you. Next, we got Hoppy Cats. They're these green spiny-shelled creatures that jump up next to the player when they jump. They're kind of just like Skip Squeaks. Next, we got King Boo, and I wasn't sure whether to put this in returning enemies or Wonder Effect or new enemies, so I'm just gonna put it in new enemies here. We haven't seen King Boo quite like this before in a 2D Mario game, so I'm just gonna put it as new. Kinda just looks like a chase segment like we had in New Super Mario Bros. 2. Next, we got this dark purple looking sea urchin. Maybe it's like a sea cucumber thing, I don't know. It sticks out of a pipe and it's kind of spiky and you see them underwater. Next, we got these tall stacked guys. They kind of look like bamboo. We saw them ground pound like a bunch of them, and they're standing on like pumpkins in like a mushroom area. They kind of just walk back and forth. I don't know, they kind of seem chill, but they look angry. Next, we got these pink floating crystal guys. They kind of swirl around in circles. They're kind of spiky, I guess, and you see them in the sky. They go in like swarms together, and I think there's a green variant we saw before, but we don't know their name, and we're not exactly sure what they fully do. We got these long, stretchy bullet bill looking guys. We called them Rocket Ricks in the stream, but the wiki calls them Long Killers. I got a hard time believing their name is going to be called Long Killer, because not only is that a stupid name, but kill is literally in the name, so that's probably a translation thing from Japan. Anyway, it looks like these guys are activated along with the Wonder event. We saw it in the first trailer with the Yoshis running by, and I think later you can see the player riding them for a certain Wonder event. Might be the same level, but I don't know. Next, we got these long, stocky, mushroom bitty bug-like guys. I don't have much to say about them. If you kill one, they spiral into the others and they all die, so that's kind of fun, I guess. Now these guys, bull rushes. I love how they're just wearing sweatpants, by the way. I just gotta point that out. Anyway, Anyway, these guys are kind of like bull sheeps. They run around, they ram into the player, they can also destroy a bunch of blocks. There's also a wonder effect where they're traveling in like a massive herd and then the player can jump on them and ride them. Now these guys also don't have a name. They're kind of built like Goombas, but they're white and it looks like they have goggles over their faces. Anyway, all these guys really do is walk around and kick ice blocks at you. Next we got these big green snail guys with like magenta shells. Well, I guess there's also little ones too. They're kind of like Koopas where if you jump on them, they slide out of their shells and you can kick them. These guys are kind of like condarts except they're in the water. They're kind of like triangle fish. I guess they're kind of shaped like angelfish. I don't know though. They got wings, so that probably makes sense. Anyway, these guys blink at you like 4 times and then launch at you full speed. We got these evil chomp flounder guys. These guys are a little sneaky, all right? They hide in the sand and lurk around left and right, and when you get near them, boom, they jump up and try to bite you. And then there's these guys. I think these guys are just like straight up armadillos. They just roll around and you can kick them. They roll down slopes. I think they can also like kill each other. Like, I don't know what they're doing. These guys are cool. They're like these pitcher plant kind of guys, I guess. They have vines hanging out the top of their heads and they also shoot out little spike balls. Oh, you can grab the vines and finish them off like that. And it's a cool little animation. I like it. So for this next guy, we kind of see 2 variants of them. There's one that looks like a kernel and there's one that fully looks like a piece of popcorn. Now I imagine all that has to happen for the kernel guy is to get a little hot and then he'll turn into the popcorn variant. Now this little guy, he looks like a dry bones dog. He's got a chain on the back of him and he's got his tongue sticking out. So he really just looks like a dry bones dog. Anyway, you grab their chain, pull them back, and you can launch them forward. And in the same shot, you can see this little sentient magma cube that just turns on heat. You can throw water at them and extinguish them, and I assume you can maybe ground pound them. You can probably get rid of them with the drill for sure. Wubbas, they're kind of like the gel, looks like the inside of a glow stick, except more congealed into a little slime ball. They kind of just walk around on goop as far as I know. Okay, as if Ghost House weren't creepy enough, now you got walking doors with teeth running at you. These are mimic doors. I don't know if that's what they're actually called, but they're pretty much mimic doors. You walk up to them, try to open them, and they start walking at you and they got teeth and they'll probably chomp you. Now in Fluff Puff Peaks, it looks like there's these owl guys that are kind of like bats because they're upside down on the ceiling. I don't know why owls are doing that, but maybe they're snow owl bats, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, they kind of launch at you when you get near them. Rumbas. I think they're called Rumbas. Probably not Roombas, because that'd be odd. They're these boulder-like enemies that roll at you. They're kind of like Grolls. Maybe they're in the same family. And these guys get folded by the drill mushroom. It's not even funny. All right, now these guys I like a lot. They kind of look like wigglers, but they're boxing. They're kind of walking on the walls, and they just kind of punch on this dotted line. They got green spiky helmets and blue boxing gloves, and we're seeing them on Fluff Puff Peaks, but we'll probably see them in a bunch of other places too. Next up are these diving crow-like birds. They dive at you guys in the water and then start swimming away. It's kind of cute, I'm not gonna lie. They seem like they're just having a good time. Now there's 2 more enemies we saw that are more or less passive. First we got the hoppos. These guys are just big little hippo guys you can bounce on. They don't really hurt you, but they just push you around. Next are these balloon fish enemies called bloomps. There's a green and a pink variant that go horizontally and vertically. You just bounce on them, and I think if you jump into them from a different direction, they pop, or if you ground pound them, they pop as well. They have a limit to how much you can jump on them, and the more you jump on them, the more air comes out of them. But these guys don't hurt you, so I feel like they deserve their own little side area. And while we're on the subject of little side areas, let's talk about some bosses. We don't know too much about them, but we do know there's a Bowser Jr. boss fight, and it looks like he's gonna use a Wonder Flower against you to force you guys to change sizes. So we can safely assume maybe all the bosses are gonna use a Wonder Flower against the players. Now, presumably after you kill a boss, you'll get a big Wonder Seed or a Mega Wonder Seed, which I think would be enough to take out one of the big black piranha plants surrounding Bowser's castle. So for collectibles, aside from Mega Wonder Seeds or the Giga Wonder Seeds, there's also flower coins, and there's 10 flower coins. So the 10 flower coins are kind of like star coins. You can use the flower coins for currency in the shops on the world map. You can buy badges from them, you can buy 1-ups and other stuff. And there's also the straight up main collectible Wonder Seeds. You get these from completing challenges, completing levels, but I think this is how you're gonna have to progress in the world to get to the end of the world to get the Mega Wonder Seed. Now obviously there's gonna be normal coins, but also there's these Wonder Buds. You walk into them and coins appear out of them. You can also water dead ones and they'll turn into alive buds, which also just shoot stuff out of them. It's cool. And while we're on the topic of coins, it seems like getting 100 coins again gives you an extra life. But just like in 3D World, it doesn't seem like the top of the flagpole is gonna give an extra life to the players. All right, I think it's time we start talking about one of the coolest things about this game, the badges. Badges are kind of like equipable upgrades. So you can equip a certain badge and you'll be able to use the power that it gives you. But you can only have 1 badge on per course, which means in multiplayer, you can't have 4 different badges going on at the same time. You can only pick 1. You'll be able to get badges from badge houses, completing badge challenges, and buying them in the shop from Poplins. First badge we got is the parachute cap. You basically jump in the air and hit R, or shake your controller. You pull out a little hat, well it's not little, it's pretty big, and you start floating down to the ground nice and slowly. We've seen the challenge level where you unlock this badge in the first world, so it's gonna be a pretty early game badge. Floating high jump. Basically you get Luigi's jump from Super Mario 3D World and New Super Luigi U. You jump higher and you get a little float at the end of it. Oh, it's also in Super Mario 64 DS, so that's cool. Yeah, it basically gives you Luigi physics, but I don't think you slip around. So it's just the best version of Luigi physics available. We got the wall climb jump badge. This one lets you basically have an extra jump after your wall jumping. So it's kind of like a wall pull-up, if you will, except you don't have to be near an edge to do it. You can just jump up again after you've clinged onto a wall. The crouching high jump badge. Basically, it's the same as the crouching high jump from Super Mario Bros. 2. You hold down for a little while, charge up, and then you do a super high jump when you're done. It's kind of like the backflip in Super Mario 3D World, where you crouch for a while and then you do a jump, except this one goes way higher. This one's gonna be goated, making underwater levels bearable. Basically gives you the little speed burst that the penguin suit had from New Super Mario Bros. Wii. You basically do a dolphin kick and you go a lot faster underwater. You can even break bricks while you're doing it. I think the earliest we saw the player get it was in the pedal aisles, which is after World 1, I'm pretty sure. Let's talk about the timed high jump. Now, the in-game description for this is timed consecutive jumps just right to jump higher than usual. Now, call me crazy, but I feel like that's what the triple jump was. You time you jump just right and you go wahoo, yaha, you know what I'm saying? So that definitely took the triple jump away and made it the badge thing. I don't think we have any footage of any player using this ever, but what it sounds like is the triple jump. So now this is the badge that got everybody's eyebrows to simultaneously raise the second we saw it. This is the grapple badge. It's like a grappling hook. You use the vine and you whip yourself over to a wall. It's so cool. I'm so excited for this. This is gonna make replayability crazy. Every game gets better when you add a grappling hook, is all I've been saying. Now, all those badges I just mentioned, they're called action badges, and they basically add to your moveset. These next ones are called boost badges. The safety bounce pretty much does the same thing that the Super Crown does in New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. When you fall in a pit or lava or poison or anything like that, it'll basically bounce you right back out of it. But you can only use it once per fall, so basically once you use it, you have to touch the ground to get the charge back. And it looks like you'll be able to get this one as early as Fluff Puff Peaks in World 2 from a Poplin shop on the map. The sensor bar basically tells you where collectibles and secrets are, so if you're having trouble in a certain level, hold on bars, then you can equip this badge and it'll start blinking when you get close to a certain collectible. Coin magnet, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. It magnetizes coins towards the player character. Next we got coin reward, which basically gives you coins every time you defeat an enemy. Auto super mushroom is kind of like how it is in 3D World, where every time you die, you respawn with a mushroom. You'll basically always have a mushroom when you enter a level or respawn. Add exclamation blocks basically adds exclamation blocks to the course as extra platforms. That's also pretty self-explanatory. Now that's all we know for the boost badges, but there's one more category of badges, the expert badges. We only know 2 of these. Invisibility. I mean, it's pretty you're invisible. You can't, nothing can see you, but you can't see yourself. So, and the last expert badge and just badge we know about is Jet Run. This one forces the player to dash at full speed at all times. If you dash off a platform, you'll basically run in the air for a little bit before you start to fall. Gonna be pretty sick for speedrunning. The badges are gonna add a ton of replayability for every level. Every level's gonna have a completely new way to play it, so that's gonna be really exciting. Now let's talk about the multiplayer for a bit. There seems to be a lot of confusion about how it's gonna work, so I'm here to break it down. I've been paying close attention to the multiplayer since this game's been announced, and I've noticed a few things that no one's really talking about. We'll start with the basic stuff though. It's 1 to 4 players, you got a bunch of playable characters we've already talked about, and it's 1 to 12 players online in an online room. But in an online room, only 4 people can enter a level at once. So multiplayer on 2D Mario has been a little chaotic since New Super Mario Bros. Wii. It's been this weird co-op competitive griefing kind of vibe, where the game's kind of edging you on to like, yeah, you should probably toss your friend into that pit or ground pound him into that pit or something. But at the same time, in these games, you share lives. And when you all die, you lose. So you should probably work together, but it's hard to work together because there's a lot of you and you're all grouped up and there's collision detection. So if you run into each other, you can't all stand on the same block because there's not enough room for it. But there's also co-op mechanics like jumping on each other's head, but that could go both ways. You can bounce off someone's head and push them into a pit with that, or you can boost someone up to a secret area. But what's different about Super Mario Bros. Wonder is that there's no collision detection at all. That's what people are not talking about. You cannot bump into your friends, you can't bounce off their heads, you can't pick them up as far as we know. Now this is how Rayman Origins, Legends, and the Donkey Kong games have been for the past few years, but Mario's usually a really chaotic co-op vibe, and this is gonna change it up completely. It's gonna make it way more organized and less frustrating when you're trying to beat a certain level. But you got way less opportunities to do sick strats, like throwing each other into a coin off a ledge and then bouncing up or something, or bouncing someone onto a secret area like I said before. Something that was introduced in New Super Mario Bros. Wii was the sync ground pound. You basically ground pounded at the exact same time as another player, and the second you guys hit the ground, it created a pow effect. It doesn't drop coins, but it does get rid of every enemy on the screen. But in Mario Wonder, it does not look like this is in the game at all. They even took away bubbles, alright? Now you turn into ghosts. Now it's pretty much the same thing as a bubble, except when you get turned into a ghost, like when you get hit by an enemy, you don't lose a life immediately. Instead, your friends have 5 seconds to save you before you actually die, and then actually take a life away from the team. And lives are shared in this game, so you're gonna want to help them out as fast as possible. I don't know if I like this system. I feel like it should just be the same as the bubble system, where you die, you lose a life, life, and then you come back as a ghost. It makes it seem too easy, I guess, if you will. I don't know. There's like a yin and yang with playing multiplayer in this game. It's way more chaotic and way harder to control your character because there's more people around you, but it's way harder for you guys to actually lose the level because there's so many bodies. In single player, it's a lot easier for you to control your character because it's just you on the screen, but if you make a single mistake, you lose. Now this is kind of a hybrid. Since there's no collision detection and you turn into ghosts before you actually lose a life, it makes it a lot easier for you to not lose lives mid-level. So I think in Mario Wonder, people are just going to be losing a lot less lives in multiplayer in general, which kind of gets rid of the yin-yang, which is what it seems like Nintendo's trying to do, and honestly, that's fine. It gets rid of a lot of frustration for a lot of people. Now, if someone's playing as Yoshi, the other players are able to jump on Yoshi's back, and if you have a fire flower or a bubble flower, you're actually able to shoot stuff while on Yoshi's back. And even if you're another Yoshi, you can still eat while riding another Yoshi's back. And I'm pretty sure that's the only like co-op action you can do with your friends. Oh my god, I forgot about this really important detail that I haven't heard anyone else talk about. The camera. It's basically the new Super Mario Bros. 2 camera. Let me break it down for you. In traditional Mario platformer multiplayer games, the camera just spreads out basically, and it tries to follow everybody best as it can. In New Super Mario Bros. 2, however, only one player has camera control. It's just a single player camera, except the other player is just trying to desperately stay on screen. Now in New Super Mario Bros. 2, if Mario had camera control, which I think he does on default, Luigi's able to ground pound him and steal the camera control. You can also get the camera control by whoever goes into a sub area first, whoever gets a star coin, and if the other player bubbles. I think there's a couple more, but that's all you really need to know. You can make it so the camera switches a lot in that game. You can do it on purpose to give someone else turn with the camera and vice versa, and it was okay because there was only 2 players. But it's the same thing in Wonder right now, except I think it's harder to switch camera control. From what I could see, whoever got the top of the flag first gets camera control in the next level. That is all I've been able to notice. And maybe whoever had the camera control, if that person dies, then it'll give it to a different person, but I'm not sure which person it would give it to. It seemed to work perfectly fine in all the demos that people were playing, and I didn't hear anyone complain about it in the reviews, so it's probably gonna be fine, but I still think it's an odd choice. Alright, let's talk about online now. A lot of people seem very mixed on this idea, because in concept is a very neat idea, I'll say, but people just want normal online multiplayer, Nintendo. So basically, when you're online, you'll be able to see live player shadows, which is basically people who are playing the game live in their own instance, but you can see them kind of faded out a little bit, kind of like a ghost. They're like semi-transparent, and you can like not interact with their game or anything that they're really doing, but you can see them. There's a bunch of things you can do with these player shadows when you see them in your game, like you can give them power-ups, you can drop these things called standees, which are basically like revival checkpoints, if you will. So if someone dies in their game and an online player put a standee not too far from where you were, you turn into a ghost and you can fly to that person's standee and it'll res you. And same thing with just the normal shadows, like normal shadows can just fully res you straight up. So if you want to have a chill experience, you can just turn on the online mode and you'll just see random people running around in the game. And that's pretty cool, I won't lie, that's pretty sick. Because even if you don't have friends around you, you can still get the multiplayer buff, for a lack of a better term. And if you help people online, you get these heart points, and it shows to other people when you interact with them how many heart points you have, and you want to get as many heart points as you can for some reason. I don't really know what they do, but I kind of want to get a lot of heart points for some reason. Now this seems all fine and dandy, and you're probably wondering, why are people mixed about this? This seems fine. And that's because you can't play with people online in the same instance, which basically means if you enter a level with friends online, you won't be able to share coins collected, you won't be able to share Wonder Seeds collected. Like if I get a Wonder Seed, for instance, my friend across the world doesn't get that Wonder Seed. He can just go way farther in the level and just continue doing whatever he wants to do, which is cool because like you get your own screen or whatever, but you're not interacting with each other's games at all, and it's not like the local multiplayer at all. All we wanted was the local multiplayer, but online. They did that in Super Mario 3D World, and everyone loved that. Even though the online sucked because it's Nintendo and they just don't know how to do online, it was still great that the option was there. Now people are saying they're doing that player shadow thing to mitigate lag potentially, because if someone's lagging and they're a player shadow, they're just gonna skip frames and it doesn't affect you at all. But if you're playing in a room with someone, like in 3D World, the game would slow down to catch up with whoever's latency is the worst. And for that, yeah, it's a pretty smart solution, I'm not gonna lie. But at the same time, if people want to suffer with the lag and play normally online, you should probably let them do that. I don't know. Now the rooms you can make with your friends are up to 12 people, and you can just have 12 people running around on the world map, all player shadows, just running around doing stuff, and 4 people can enter a level at once, which means if you have a full lobby of 12 people, there could be 3 levels being occupied by all 4 people. It's kind of cool when you like zoom out and look at it, but at the same time, it's not really what we wanted for online multiplayer. Now this next thing is something they kind of had in Super Mario 3D World for the Wii U, specifically the Wii U. They showed the times of me vs. Ghost running through the level. This is races in Super Mario Wonder. You can race up to 3 people in one level in your online lobby, and you can race to the finish. That is cool. I love that. You basically all start at the beginning of the level, and you gotta hit the race block, and then you'll be able to race to the end, and the race ending conditions will be different, like a flagpole, or getting a Wonder Seed, or finishing off a boss. Something I love. That's gonna add so much replayability to online, and you'll just be able to hop into rooms with your friends and just be able to race around in whatever level you want. Now here's my issue with this. You can only race your friends. They specifically call it friend races. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope they're just stupid and didn't know how to market this properly in the direct. I would love it if you can just race random people in random levels. That would be so amazing if there was like a matchmaking and a rank system like in Mario Maker, where you can just race random people in random levels throughout the game based on your game progression on one of your files. But if you don't have a bunch of friends to play this online, then you can't do friend races, which is like a pretty cool feature. Just let us play with randoms, Nintendo. I don't know what's going on here. You already do it with the basic online player shadow thing. Just let us do it with races too. Also, they say the friend races are only available on certain courses. I don't know how many courses will have this feature enabled. I hope it's like at least 70% of the courses you'll be able to race in. If not, that'll be really sad. Damn, that's crazy. You guys are still here and you still haven't liked or subscribed? What the hell's going on here? Go ahead and do that. We're almost at 10K. We're about to make it. And Mario Wonder's coming out soon, and we're gonna go crazy on the content with that, so you're gonna want to subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos about it. All right, let's keep going. All right, it's time to get into the nitty-gritty of the levels we've seen and the worlds they belong to, and what we've seen of the worlds and what we know about them. World 1, Pipe Rock Plateau. This world's got a bunch of themes. I was talking about how the worlds of this game seem to have a lot of dynamic themes depending on the worlds. Starts off as your average World 1 grassland, but then it turns into a savanna. You go up, it goes into an autumn forest. You keep going to the right, you go into the mountains, go a little down, get a swamp, you get everything here. We know for sure this world has an open area in the savanna section. It's like after the grassland area, which is kind of like a tutorial, I guess. So after you finish the grassland area, there's a flower propeller that takes you to the savanna area, and then there's like a poplin house, I think, and then it leads into the open area, and then there's that level that is blocked off by the dark piranha plants. In World 1, we got the first level, Welcome to the Flower Kingdom, which we've seen a lot of footage for at this point. I mean, we pretty much have seen the entire level. I think we have just seen the entire level. We got level 2, which is Piranha Plants on Parade. There's this level where we saw Wiggler on a bunch of roller skates, and we saw the players running away or racing him on these grind rail situations. That is taking place in Pipe Rock Plateau based on the background. So a lot of these level placements are based on the background. So if it looks like it's in Pipe Rock Plateau, like for instance, you see this background here, there's pipes, it's like a plateau, it's like Pipe Mountain, it's Pipe Rock Plateau. Next level we got is Roller Koopa Derby, which is basically, they got a bunch of Roller Koopas, which is Koopas on roller skates, and they're skating around in the autumn area of Pipe Rock Plateau. We saw this in the first trailer, and there was like a bunch of music blocks in it too. It's looking great, honestly. This is where we first saw the eye tracking on the enemies and how expressive they can possibly be, so I'm excited for this level in particular. Here come the Hoppos. Now this level's in the part of Pipe Rock Plateau where we split up into Savannah. I think it's like right away, it might be the second one. And there's a bunch of Hoppos in this one. This is one we saw in all the promo, where Mario's like bouncing around and stuff. That's the wonder effect of that level. He's running around, he's jumping on Hoppos just in the terrain, just squished in between pits and whatnot. We've got Angry Spikes and Sinking Pipes. We've got 2-star difficulty, 2 Wonder Seeds. It's taking place in the swamp section of Pipe Rock Plateau, and this is probably the first level in the game we're going to see spikes in. Also taking place in the swamp area of Pipe Rock Plateau is Swamp Pipe Crawl, which is the first bit of footage we saw with Daisy in the first trailer. She was fighting this push bro, pushing his pipe against him. So in this section of the direct, they're showing off Yoshi and Nabbit. Yoshi's walking around in the first level, Welcome to the Flower Kingdom, and Nabbit's walking around in the level somewhere in the autumn area in Pipe Rock Plateau. In this shot here with Red Yoshi, he seems to be in a cloudy bonus area. Now you can judge from the bottom of the frame that there's a pipe mountain in the background, which means we're still in Pipe Rock Plateau. Where in Pipe Rock Plateau? I'm not exactly sure, but if I were to guess, it'd probably be the mountain area of the top right of Pipe Rock Plateau's map. I might just call Pipe Rock Plateau PRP at this point. They're like, this is a mouthful. Now you see this section here where Elephant Mario goes down this pipe. This is in Welcome to the Flower Kingdom, the first level. There are these underground sub areas that we weren't sure where to place. We think they're in the same level. They have the same tile set style as they do in the overworld in Welcome to the Flower Kingdom, just a different color. And I think this pipe can only be accessed if you don't get the Wonder Flower, because then all the pipes transform and move around and stuff, and you won't have access to them. There's this level, Bull Rush Express. It's in Pipe Rock Plateau, but it's a 4-star difficulty level. So it's gonna be pretty tricky to get through this one, I imagine, but might be optional, I'm not really sure. And finally, also in Pipe Rock Plateau, we have the Wall Climb Jump Badge Challenge. And this level takes place in the Savannah portion of PRP. Now we got World 2 Fluff Puff Peaks, baby. So the dynamic themes for this world is that you start off in a nice little snowy area. We have the snow world in World 2, which is crazy. And then we work our way up to the cloudy area area of Fluff Puff Peaks, which is like pink clouds, it's all sky, and it's all nice. We got a nice shot of the frozen area of Fluff Puff Peaks down here. It seems like it's kind of revolving around a tree, and we got ice steps leading up everywhere, and we're gonna head up into the clouds after we complete all the ice stuff on the ground. Looks like there's a poplin shop, we got the Wonder Seed stuff going up there. It looks pretty cool, and I like how it transitions nicely because it does not look like a cloudy area with a big purple pink tree combined nicely with a glacier area below it, but they made it work. So now this is the world I think you might be getting the floating high jump badge. I say that because we see the floating high jump badge icon on one of these levels here. So it could be we get it earlier and there's just a challenge for it here, or this is where you unlock it. At the summit of the mountain, it looks like there's a massive castle. So I think we're trying to climb all the way up to Fluff Puff Peaks and then get to the castle, and that's where we get the Giggle Wonder Seed. Oh, and if we go back to the other shot, we can see this golden piranha plant statue. I have no idea what this could possibly mean, but since it's golden, I'm assuming maybe a coin bonus level. And there's also condarts flying around the world map, so it's pretty likely we're gonna see condarts in these levels. Maybe the first introduction to condarts in the game. All right, so we've got a bunch of levels sprinkled out throughout the direct and the trailer that we can probably piece together and figure out that they're in Fluff Puff Peaks. So when they're showing off Peach, when they're talking about the character, she's standing in a sky area and it's got pink clouds, definitely Fluff Puff Peaks. But then when they're showing out the bubble flower, it looks like it's the exact same level because it's got the same mechanics. Being that purple white block, the second you hit it, a pole sticks out the side, and you see that in all three of these shots. So this is probably in Fluff Puff Peaks, and it's probably the same level. We get another shot of a level here that has melon piranha plants and these countdown platforms, kind of like the ones from Yoshi's Island. You step on them and then the timer goes down on them or whatever, and then I assume they're gonna fall when it hits 0. This level also looks like it's taking place in Fluff Puff Peaks based on the background. When they're talking about condarts, Luigi's running through a little snow area. I mean, it's safe to assume this is also in Fluff Puff Peaks, just in the snow area at the bottom. So when they show Peach get her elephant fruit, she's also in Fluff Puff Peaks at the bottom here. You see she's in the snowy area, and we got these little snow owls running at you. I think this is also, safe to say, at the bottom of Fluff Puff Peaks. And then this other shot, Mario dies here when they're talking about live player shadows and how they can res people. This level also looks like it's in Fluff Puff Peaks, based on the pink clouds and stuff. I mean, I think you get what looks like Fluff Puff Peaks at this point. If it's got pink fluffy clouds, or it's a snow level, it's in Fluff Puff. All right, now let's talk about World 3, Shining Falls. Now this world looks like it has a pretty unique theme. I really can't pin it down. The most I can guess is like kind of an Aztec-y river. It's hard to tell because this looks so unique. Shining Falls is like, I guess it's like a waterfall, but the waterfalls are yellow, and the backgrounds all look kind of weird with geometrical shapes. I can't really pinpoint what this would be, so if you guys got a good idea for like a biome name for this, let me know. But I'm just going with like an Aztec river vibe. Now in the first trailer, we see when Mario jumps on Yoshi for the first time, and there's just like crystal gods flying through the air. And then the direct here where Yoshi's just going through on his own. Based on the background, it looks like this is also in Shining Falls, because we got the same square things as when they're talking about Shining Falls in the background, and it's also got the yellow waterfalls happening, falling out of these crystal clouds that you can see on the world map. And when they're talking about Hoppy Cats over here in this scene, it's got the same kind of tile set that we've seen it before with Shining Falls, and it's got the background assets being the same kind of shape again, and there's like a bunch of water falling behind it. So yeah, this is also in Shining Falls. But in this scene, when Toad grabs the elephant fruit and starts running through it, you can see a little angelfish enemy over there that's flying through the air, and they could also definitely tell, like looking on the background, we're in Shining Falls again. Based on the tile set, the ground, the background, the yellow water in the back, yeah, we're in Shining Falls. And I feel like this is also going to be the same level that they talked about when they showed off Shining Falls, talking about all the worlds at the beginning. Oh, and you know in the first trailer when we saw Mario grinding on these rails, and then there's like Hoppy Cats in that cloud? Well, we can also see this level here when Daisy, Peach, and Luigi are grinding and going up in the level. I think this is the same level based on everything around us. All right, so now we don't know the names of each world. This is World 4, and it's kind of like an arid desert. It's got like an oasis. So we got the desert world as World 4, which is a nice change. But anyway, in this Daisy showcase here, she's holding a pot and kicking armadillos. She's standing in sand. There's armadillos around. This is definitely in World 4. And we can see probably what's the same level in this shot here where Daisy's kicking a shell up at a pokey. I'm guessing it's the same level because there's also a pot in the top left corner here, and there's a pot in the other scene, so I'm assuming maybe these assets are shared and they're in the same level. But there could just be pots everywhere in the world, so this might not be the same level. But it's got the same lighting and that kind of vibe, so hard to say. And if we take a look at the background in all of these, we got these like big sand pyramids going around, so we're gonna probably use those to judge a lot of levels on where they are. If we see sand pyramids in the background, safe to say they're in World 4. In this footage here where Nabbit's bouncing on these blooms and you see Mario bouncing on the blooms, I can safely assume these guys are in the same level, and when Mario's bouncing on them, it's the wonder effect. So the big blooms is when you get the wonder flower and you go through the level. I'm assuming assuming these are the same level because it's a big blue level, you're in the sky, and you're definitely in the desert based on the sand pyramids in the background, like the sand dunes. And when they're showcasing Peach unraveling a mumsy here, we're definitely in the desert again. You could base on the background. We're just in the desert world. There was this pause before that Daisy was kicking. And you see that little temple in the background, that question block temple? It kind of looks like it's gonna be in this level here when Luigi's pushing against the push bro with the Sparkies. It kind of looks like we've gone to that temple in the background and we're now here with Luigi, but I'm not sure. And later on in the level, we see Mario in this dark area with the same Sparkies. It looks like it's the exact same level just later on. And we can barely see on the right side of the screen here, but you can definitely see the Wonder Flower peeking out there. Now in this shot, Mario's turned into a big balloon using the Wonder Flower. He's in the night desert, so we're definitely in World 4, and there's a bloom in this shot here. But when he gets out of it, there's also a bloom falling from the sky, but he's still at night. Now on the wiki, it says that there is a level called Blooms of the Desert Skies, and I feel like we could safely assume, yeah, it's probably this level. Now World 5, this is one of the worlds we know the least about. It's kind of like a fungi bog, like mushroom area, and you're like in a purple swamp. It's pretty cool looking, I like the vibe of it, but don't know too much about it. Now in this shot, we get a little bit of a view of the world map here. We can see a level called an Uncharted Area Wubba Ruins. It's got 2-star difficulty, and it's the goo level we saw earlier where they were walking through the goo, and we saw the Wubbas, and we saw the Kongs mashing through the goo. It's that level. But right down at the bottom, you can see the grapple vine badge on a level icon. Now if we move ahead and check out the footage where they're showing off the grapple vine, we can see that we're in some kind of ruins. And since we're in an area around Wubba Ruins, I can safely assume this is probably the ruins area of the world, and we might actually get the grapple vine in World 5. It might be a late game item. Now when we're talking about Luigi and Luigi Showcase here, he's kind of in a ghost house area, but behind him, there's green fog, and it kind of looks like we're in the depths of the fungi bog. This is just a guess based on the color of the fog in the background, so we don't actually know 100% where this could be, but I feel like World 5 is a good guess. And we see the same type of green fog when Peach is looking at Boo's in this scene here. It looks like it's going to be the same level that Luigi's in, or at least in the same area. So there might be a haunted area in the game, and it might be in World 5 in the fungi bog world, I guess. Now in this scene where Toad's drilling into the ceiling, and we see these pitcher plant enemies with the snails. The background, it's got goopy droopy mushrooms, and it's got that same green fog as before. It's safe to assume that we're definitely in World 5 in the fungi bog once again. Now moving on to World 6, we know a little more about World 6 than World 5, but not much more. This is gonna be the lava world of the area. It's got like a dark brown and red vibe. My stream chat called this world Dark Dragon Dunes or Dark Dragon Depths, and I kind of like that, so we'll go with those. Mainly because it looks like there's a big serpent going through it on the world map, and it's kind of like poking in and out. There's a point where Mario kicks a water pot at this talking flower and gives him the water, and he's like, "You share your water with me?" That place is definitely taking place in World 6. Look around you. There's lava everywhere. Everything's dark and red and creepy. Absolutely World 6. In the level where we see Luigi use the safety bounce to save himself from lava, where we also see the fire spikes, this is also definitely in World 6. On this world map shot here, we get another level name, Where the Rumbers Rule. We've seen this in this shot and in this shot here. We've seen them a bunch. We saw Mario get rid of them with the drill mushroom earlier. Now in this shot, we can see Yoshi getting botted here by a fire piranha plant. It is definitely in World 6 in an underground section. So probably around where the Rumbers roll and that spin jump challenge, probably in that same area. We see Peach with the drill mushroom in a similar looking area, underground. It's got the dark brown and red undertones in the background and a little bit in the level itself, so this is also definitely in World 6, in the underground segment. And in this last shot here where Luigi falls in lava and uses Mario standee to come back to life, he's also in World 6, because he falls in lava. There's also bone platforms around, and it's got the dark brown and it got the red vibes. We're definitely in World 6 here. And for the last possible world here, this could be the final world, I'm not sure, but it looks like it might be after you get all of the Super Wonder Seeds. You unlock all the Dark Piranha plants to get rid of them, and you're able to go on the Bowser face ship thing. And there's this shot here where everyone's in their own Lakitu clouds and they're dodging green fire. This definitely looks like it's Bowser's castle. You see a bunch of Bowser's insignias on the left side there, and the castle colors are like gray, red, and green, and this all fits that here, so I feel like we could safely assume this is probably Bowser's castle. Now after you beat World 1, you'll probably have access to this place called the Petal Isles. It kind of looks like a hub world of the world map. You might be able to pick which world you go to after you beat World 1. You could probably pick between World 2 and 3. It just kind of looks like that based on what the map looks like here. But you might just have to go in a linear order, which is fine too. Like, it doesn't really matter. I'm just kind of guessing. But in this footage here, where we see Luigi using the dolphin kick, showcasing it in the badge part of the direct, we get to see him going through an underwater part, which is definitely taking place in the Petal Isles because it's a beach area, underwater area, and no other world fits this kind of aesthetic. This shot here is going to be in the Petal Isles, and it's probably the same level as this dolphin kick badge. We can also see this level here, this underground purple level. We can probably assume that this shot here is definitely this level on the world map. I mean, it kind of looks like it. It seems like a safe assumption. Now, in this shot where they're showing Blue Toad dive in some water, it looks like the Petal Isles once again. It's the same kind of vibe. We got the beach, we got the underwater level. You can even see Yellow Toad probably in the same level or around that same level. In the bottom right corner of the pedal aisles, it looks like there's gonna be a candy area. And would you look at that? Look at this candy level with the mamas walking around in it. This is definitely gonna take place in the same area. So I'm assuming the pedal aisles are gonna be home to these levels that have really unique level themes that don't fit in any other level that they can just kind of throw there. And while we're on the topic of this candy level, you see the sub area where Mario's running away from these winged chomper guys? It looks like they're kind of eating candy blocks, and in the background it looks like there's honey falling from the sky. So I think this might be a sub area above or below the candy level. So in the Nintendo treehouse where they're playing Super Mario Bros. Wonder, they're in this level called Jewel Block Cave, right? We're not sure exactly where this fits until they exit out at the end of the level and we see that they're definitely in the pedal aisles. They're in a beach area. Now that's all I've noticed for all the level placements in certain worlds and everything we've seen about certain worlds. I'm sure I've missed a bunch of things, but now that we know how to fit each level in certain worlds based on the background, it probably won't be too hard to guess. If you see something else, you can probably figure out, okay, this probably goes in that world. So we're gonna move on. Now we've seen a decent amount of environmental assets. I'm talking like everything that's in the game that you can interact with pretty much. So we already talked about the glide flower that takes you from place to place on the world map. There's these grind rails that we saw in Shining Falls. There's these waterfall rain clouds that Mario kind of swims up in the first trailer that we saw, and you can just swim up and jump through the clouds like a semi-solid platform. We also saw these piano blocks where if you run on them and jump, you get a boosted jump as long as you're standing on them prior to the jump. We got a background and a foreground pipe which takes you to the background or the foreground. We see pumpkin blocks. We got lights off and on blocks, which we can see here. If you hit them, it turns the lights off and turns them back on respectively. We got character specific blocks, which means basically if you're playing as Mario and you run through the level, a Mario block will appear and you'll be able to hit it. However, if someone isn't Mario, that block will still be there. It'll just be invisible. We got these countdown block platforms that we talked about earlier. They kind of look like the ones from Yoshi's Island, where you can only stand on it or jump on them a certain amount of times before probably something bad happens to them. We got these blocks where if you hit them or ground pound them, they go up or launch down, depending on if you ground pound them or hit them from below. We also saw some water pots. So we saw Mario kick them onto these lava enemies and onto the talking flowers. The talking flower appreciated it, and it got rid of the heat from the lava enemies. And we also got normal pots. We saw Daisy kick these into like an armadillo guy. We got these pole blocks that extend a pole out in a certain direction depending on where you hit them. Fire bars return, donut blocks return, and we saw this goo in the Web of Ruins level where you can actually swim through this kind of goo. I called it goo walking in the control section. And in this shot here with Peach, you can see this little handlebar hanging off on the background asset, and it looks like you're gonna be able to grab onto it and maybe pull down something later, or you can just hang on to it. I don't really know what this is for. We can see these push blocks here. They're kind of pink and yellow, and we see Luigi pushing them against a push bro. We see power blocks making their return here. We also see this dark, mattery, dark, weird, green, dark, I don't know what this is. I keep saying dark. I don't know what this is though, and it looks really cool. I like this hazard. There's these breakable snow blocks on the surface of the tile set of that level, so it looks like you can break them as an elephant here. When we were talking about everybody riding on Lakitu clouds in the Bowser Castle level, it looks like behind them there's a pipe generating those Lakitu clouds, so that could be something that we see in more than one place. And in the same shot, we can see these green fire spitters shooting fire at these guys, and the fire is green, so cool. And lastly, we have these things called beacons, is what they call them in the treehouse. We see them in the Crystal Cave level, and if you drill into it, you can get some coins, or maybe something else too. I don't know yet, but I feel like we've only seen coins from these. All right, we're almost done here. Oh my god, this video is long, but we got a couple things to talk about in the menu. So we can see in the level select here that there's gold flagpole checks, which means we're gonna have to get the gold flagpoles on every level to fully 100% it. I don't know what it's gonna unlock. Hopefully a bonus world, but we'll see. And straight up, we can just see the entire level select menu and how it's gonna look like in this shot here. Once again, we could see everything's gonna be on the bottom, and we can see all the level info on the top here. We've seen the player select. We got 12 characters to pick from. We got Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, everyone. You said we've already talked about this. And back from 3D World, it looks like you'll be able to pick a character at complete random, which is gonna be fun. In 3D World, it randomized everybody's characters against their will. It was kind of funny, but maybe they'll change it for this one, or maybe it'll be the same. In this shot, we can see just straight up the main menu in gameplay here. So we can see the characters tab, we can see the courses tab, we can see all the badges that we have. You can see the standee collection that you've collected over the game, which are kind of like stamps from 3D World. In the online menus, you can see all your friends and see what levels they're playing. You can see what characters they're playing. And when you're walking around the world map, you can see all your friends. If they're there, they can emote. You can see their player shadows. It's cool. It's like a nice little community hub. And with that, we have talked about everything I caught and all the footage we've seen of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Now, granted, there is still a ton of extra footage out there that I'm sure I've missed. Nintendo's been releasing more promo trailers and more commercials as I've been working on this video, so I can't catch everything. But for the most part, I think we've caught a good majority of what they've shown us so far. So if you guys like this video, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe, because we're going to be going crazy with Mario Wonder when that game comes out, all right? God damn, that was long.